Have you seen any of those freaky videos where a plane just suddenly drops out of the sky? You know, where it's just flying along normally and then it just plummets. And by the way, don't watch this if you're scared of flying or if you're going on a flight anytime soon. I just have to warn you that this is not suitable content for you, so stop now. But the rest of you, yeah. Have you seen those videos I'm talking about? You know, where a plane is flying along and then it just suddenly appears to lose control and it plummets, or it does like really unnatural kind of moves that a pilot would never do. Because normally when these things happen, and they happen more frequently than you care to know, when a plane goes into a nosedive, it's normally a controlled nosedive, right? So say you have to do an emergency landing, or the cabin pressure suddenly drops, which can happen, and the plane has to rapidly descend in order to get to an altitude where people won't pass out from lack of oxygen. Well, yeah, I mean, that is the number one reason why a plane goes into a nosedive. So actually, it's a good thing to know, because you should know these things, right? When you fly, that if all of a sudden the plane goes into a nosedive, the pilot doesn't have time to explain to you why this is happening. They just have to do it, or else we'll all die, because we would pass out, and the cabin crew would pass out, the pilot would pass out, the co-pilot would pass out, and then we would just die. So they don't have time under those circumstances to make any detailed announcements. They just gotta do it, and then they'll apologize afterwards, while all the passengers are screaming and the food is flying everywhere, and if you haven't got your seatbelt on, you go flying up as well. So that's an important lesson from this video. Always have your seatbelt on when the plane just seems to be cruising normally, because if you fall asleep and the plane suddenly has to go into nosedive, or hits extreme turbulence, you'll go flying off your seat and you can injure yourself. And that is actually one of the most common causes of injury or even death when there's a plane crash, is people flying out of their seat. So this isn't centered. There, that's better. Okay, yeah. So I'm going off course here though. Yeah. I'm talking about these videos where the plane is flying along normally and then it just suddenly plummets out of the sky, and in a way that is totally unnatural, that no pilot would ever do, because it's not a controlled nosedive, but just like as if and it's not even like if the engine fails as well, you can kind of glide, and it will feel like a nosedive when you're on the plane, but you'll be effectively gliding down till you land without the thrusters going. However, I'm talking about these videos where the plane just behaves in a way that is just completely, it just defies all logic. And if I can find one of these videos, I'll stitch it to this video, but if not, you just have to picture it. The plane is going along like this, and then suddenly just goes, you know, that kind of stuff. Well, anyway, yeah, I've seen a whole bunch of these videos recently, and I don't know why it's been happening so much lately, and there are all kinds of conspiracy theories about it. Some people say that these planes are being remotely controlled, which is really freaky. The reason I'm talking about this is because I had a dream last night now don't stop listening here, because I know it's really boring when people say I had a dream and try and make you listen to their stupid, irrelevant dream that's got nothing to do with anyone else, because it's just something that it never happened, it just happened in their head. And it's basically people who try and make you listen to their dreams are generally self-centered or unself-aware, because nobody cares about anybody else's dream. It didn't happen. But this is an exception, because I want to tell you about my dream last night, and not for the sake of entertaining you with what happened in my dream, because that's what I'm talking about. Like, nobody cares. It's not entertaining to anybody else who wasn't in that dream, but because I want to analyze it, because it's relevant to what I'm talking about. So where am I going with this? Well, last night I had a dream that I was on a plane with my mom and we were sleeping. Well, she was fast asleep and she was just kind of like laying like this, sideways in her seat, and I was facing her. I was kind of like half asleep. And it was so peaceful. It was a lovely dream until suddenly the plane just plummeted. No, it didn't plummet right away. It just did this crazy maneuver where it suddenly went upside down, spinning around, and then it plummeted. And the reason it's interesting is because it's not like the normal kind of, well, I don't normally dream about this. I've never had a dream about this before, but my reaction wasn't what I would have expected under the circumstances, because when something like this happens in a dream, I would expect that it would be kind of close to how I would imagine it to be in real life. Everyone would be screaming, I'd be terrified, I'd be thinking I'm gonna die. But it wasn't like that at all. I was really calm. As soon as the plane flipped and it was doing all these crazy maneuvers before plummeting down, and I'm not even talking like a controlled nosedive, as I was explaining earlier on, but straight down, vertically to hit the ground. And as this was happening, I was totally calm. And I was looking at my mum as she was sleeping, and I thought, I don't want to wake her up. So I just tried to go back to sleep while it was all happening. And I was thinking to myself, what's happening is just like the videos that I've seen. Our plane has gone into some crazy unnatural maneuver, getting blown around like a plastic bag in the wind, and we're gonna go into a nosedive and hit the ground and die. And in my dream, I completely accepted that this was happening and that was my fate, and it was imminent. We would all be dead in a matter of minutes, and I was totally chill about it. And I just tried to go back to sleep. And I knew why that was too, because I have no fear of death. And so it was really interesting to see that play out in my dream, because I believe that when you die, it's not the end. We move, like a lot of people believe that when you die you go to heaven or hell, you know, the Christian belief, or some people believe in reincarnation. I believe that after death we return to our true home, that this experience here on earth is not real. It's just an experience that we chose. I mean, it's real while we're in it, because we're not aware that it's just an experience. We are so immersed in this experience, this matrix, or whatever you want to call it, or this simulation, depends, you know, if you believe in simulation theory, it's a similar kind of outlook, that this is just an experience, that our spirit lives beyond its time in this body, in this experience on this earth. And when we die, we return, our spirit returns to its true existence, which is infinite. And that is my true belief. So you could call it a spiritual belief, and many religions have tried to explain it in a way that their what do you call them? Their practitioners can understand, with metaphors like heaven and hell, which I don't believe in. I don't believe that there's a heaven or a hell. I don't think that we're judged and good people go to heaven and bad people go to hell. I just think that no matter how you behave in this existence, after you die, you return to your true spiritual home, and whatever happened here, it's gone and it has no relevance. It's like waking up from a dream. Like our waking, living reality, our day-to-day reality is the equivalent of a dream in the universal infinite existence of your soul. So when you wake from death, You know, after you die and you leave this body and your spirit returns to its spiritual home, it's like waking up from a dream, and everything that happened in our lifetime, all the relationships we've had, everything is just completely irrelevant, no more than anything that happened to us in a dream. But we learn from it, and that's why we chose this experience. We chose to come to this earth and live this life in order to learn from the experience. And yeah, so because that is my belief, I do not fear death at all. I fear leaving people behind, and I worry about the people I leave behind. And obviously the process that leads to death, I don't look forward to that. I don't want to die in a gory accident. I don't want to die from disease. You know, however you die, it's not pleasant. Well, it can be if you just suddenly just drop dead for no reason. You know, SADS. I'm not going to say what that is. If you don't know what that is, then you don't need to know. But some of you will know what I'm talking about. I mean, that's horrible, isn't it? That's horrible for the people that you leave behind, because there's no chance for them to say goodbye to you. There's no chance for you to say goodbye to them. And it's very tragic. I'm not going to take the piss, right? But it's the most painless way to go. But let's not dwell on that subject. Yeah, so I have no fear of death, but only the consequences of my death on the people I leave behind, and the unpleasantness of it as well, on, you know, to go through the whatever process leads to my death. But I have no fear of what comes afterwards, because I have faith. And you could say it's the same faith that the religious have, that their faith in an afterlife and going on to something greater, it makes you not have to fear death, because death is not final. And I think it's a very healthy way to see things. And I actually feel very sorry for people who don't have this faith. I would hate to think that this is all there is, that there's nothing more than this. Because some people's lives are truly miserable, right? And it's very sad for them. And to think that that's all there is horrible. Even if you have a great life, it's so short. Life can be so brief. And I mean, I'm 52 now, but I feel like the last 50 years has flown by so quickly. No, not the last 50. The first 10, 20 years are slow, because so much change takes place in those first 20 years, from infancy to adulthood. But after that, from 20 to 50, it goes by in a flash. So I'm expecting that 50 till old age and death is also going to go by in a flash. That sounds very morbid, doesn't it? But it's not morbid if you don't fear death. I mean, aging is not a very nice thing, is it? I'm not excited about aging, but I don't fear it either. I have no qualms about getting old. I love old people, and I'm not scared of becoming an old person. I'm not scared of losing my looks. I will hold on to them as long as I can. I think I'm doing pretty good for 52, because that's all down to how you eat and your state of mind as well. And so, yeah, because I don't have this fear. God, that was a long explanation, wasn't it? Because I'm coming back to this dream now, why I was so calm in my dream. Because instead of freaking out, screaming, thinking, we're all gonna die, I was like, we're gonna die imminently, next few minutes, and I'm gonna return home. That is truly what I believe. And I'd like to think that if it was real life and not a dream, that when I'm on my deathbed, I won't be scared, because I'll know that I'm gonna go back home, and whatever it's like on the other side, I know that I will be infinitely happy, and it will be greater than any experience I've ever had on earth. That's what everybody who has had a near-death experience and come back to talk about it has said, that it's the most wonderful feeling that they've ever experienced. That feeling that when they get a glimpse of what comes after, of how peaceful it is and how complete you feel and how everything makes sense and there's no more pain and there's no more sadness, and all there is love and joy. That is such a wonderful thing to look forward to, isn't it? So because I believe that so firmly, that's why in my dream I had no fear and I was totally calm, and I just lay there and my mum was facing me, she was sleeping, and I thought, I'm not gonna wake her up and tell her that we're about to crash. I just let myself drift off. And it's kind of like the opposite of, who was it, that poet? Robert Burns, I think it was. Do not go gentle into that night, or I can't remember the exact name of it, because he's like rage against the dying of the light, but that's actually the opposite of how I view death. I will go gentle into the night. And that dream, it was amazing, because I think the way we handle situations that come up in our dreams is informed by our waking, like our beliefs in our waking life. You're not a different person in your dream, right? Your personality is the same, your beliefs. So in your dream, when you're faced with whatever situation you're faced with, you act just as you yourself would act in your waking life. So it made me so happy that in this plane crash dream, I carried through to the experience my true belief in the afterlife, or whatever you want to call it, the concept of returning home after death. And I was able to experience that impending plane crash without fear. So it was so fascinating to experience or witness in my dream the manifestation of my real world faith, I guess you would call it. And I asked myself, was that like a rehearsal for my actual death? I'm not saying that I'm gonna die in a plane crash, but a rehearsal for the experience of facing imminent death. The fact that I was able to handle it the way I did in my dream. Is that really how I'm going to handle it in real life? I really do hope so. I really believe so. Because that's how strong my faith is. Can you relate to this? Anybody out there who's listening? Do you share my views in the afterlife and the meaning of life? Let me know in the comments. Either way, do you think this is final and there's just nothingness after we die? Which I think is very sad. I think that's a very, what's the word for it? That's a very material view of existence, and to me denies the existence of your spirit. And I think that your spirit is far greater than your body. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on this. And oh my God, I just remembered what that poem was. I'm such a bimbo. It wasn't Robert Burns, it was Dylan Thomas. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage against the dying of the light. High school English, yeah. I have a good memory for stuff like that, literature and music. But yeah, his message was to fight with all you've got. But sorry, mate, I'm gonna go gentle into that good night. Just relax and drift gently away. As ever, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and do subscribe to my channel if you're not already doing so. And If you enjoy the subject of dream analysis, do check out this video too. Thank you.